All right, let's talk a little sports today. Klay Thompson came back yesterday, looking really good. He got the win. He stayed healthy, so that's 2 for 2. Whether he scored, it didn't matter. As long as he stayed healthy, they got the win. That's the biggest thing. Um, he looked really good. They look good as a team. Draymond comes back in a few weeks, so a few days, so we'll see. But they look good, and he stayed healthy. That's the only thing that really matters. Georgia, Alabama tonight. Obviously, I'm rooting for Georgia. Hate Alabama, but Alabama offensively is not as good as they used to be. Um, but they've been able to just win some tough, close games. Against Auburn, they scored 3 points in the whole game, and a few mistakes in the last drive of Auburn, and then they turned it on, scored 7 points, and went to overtime, won the game. So if Georgia can hold them down until they can get maybe 20, 30 points, separate for a while, because Alabama's going to go through some issues offensively, but once they get hot and get it on, it's over. So they can do that. Defensively, Alabama's fine, but they have to try to. Georgia really had to try to get some turnovers, 1 or 2 turnovers. They have to get back, try to get to the quarterback. They had no sacks of the game, maybe 1 or 2 turnovers in special teams. You don't really need a missed field goal, anything like that. Any type of block, any type of holding, on a short, fourth down, something like that to try to try to steal a possession or something. But they didn't do that last game. Nothing has changed, so I don't see them able to execute a different game plan in 3 weeks. But we'll see. NFL, thank God I'm not a betting man. Everybody I said was going to win lost. I didn't see the Steelers in the playoffs. It took a lot for them to make the playoffs. The Chargers, man, they threw the ball 60-something times. Justin Herbert, I'm like, who throws the ball 60 times? It's ridiculous. The Raiders, they look good, but a lot of times the Chargers is coaching because they lost a lot of close games last few years and they got a new coach and did the same thing this year. The coach went for it, fourth down in their own territory, like from their own 18-yard line. Like they were only down maybe 4 points, 5 points at the time. It wasn't like the game was getting away from them. I don't know why he did it. And he ran a basic play, uh, running back up the middle, didn't go nowhere. They actually lost yards. And then they missed the field goal. So all that stuff you do early in the game comes back to bite you. So I don't know why he went for it, but I'm sure he's going to tell us. He's seen the play, seen something he liked. It's always seen something I liked, and seen something like he should be fired. But nah. But I don't know why, because those 3 points is what they needed. So Oakland got the ball at the 20-yard line, and they ended up getting a field goal out of that. And that essentially was the field goal that won the game. Because that would have been a possession they would have never had. They would have punted it away. I don't know why they went for that. Um, why is people betting on Carson Wentz? I actually thought the Colts would win. The Jags decided to wait till week 18 to show up. So I guess week 17 to show up. But the Jags look really good. The Colts didn't show up. The running back, I think if they'd have made the playoffs, they would have had a good shot at him trying to get the MVP. But the last 2 weeks, he hasn't. He's been okay. He hasn't been outstanding like he usually was. Getting 100, 150 yards he was doing a couple weeks ago. He's been slowed down a little bit. But Carson Wentz is just. He's Carson Wentz. I don't know why. I think they thought they can, just be average with him, but they're not even average with him. They're not that good. Uh, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Either they sign him long term or they try to get someone um, to back up him for 2 years and then they move on from Carson Wentz. But a lot of good teams lost. Packers lost. Bengals lost. The Bengals could have had the third seed. I don't know what they were doing. I was watching the Bengals Browns. They had a lot of guys on the restriction list, so I understand that part. The Rams had some issues. Same issues. Jared Goff, same issues. Overthrows, underthrows. Cats is open, and he throwing picks. So it is what it is. Patriots are going to play the Bills in the playoffs, and that's the third time they played. And the Patriots have been playing not as consistent the last few weeks. They lost to the Miami. They lost last week. But division games, you really can't tell because if they know everything about you, you see somebody times of year. You know all their plays, all their players, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, what they like to run against your defense, what they like to run against your offense. So it's going to be interesting to see the matchup between the Bills and the Patriots later. That's, I think, Saturday, because they played two games very close. I think the first game was 14-10 or something like that. The other game was within 7 points or something like that. So both games were really close. So came but down to one possession. So it's going to be interesting to see what a division game in the playoffs will look like in Buffalo. Um, the weather, I was at that other game, that 14-10 game, and the weather played a huge role in what you can do offensively. So it's going to be interesting to see what, not only what the weather will look like, but what they can do to try to combat that. The Patriots decided in their first game, when it was blowing wind, they weren't going to pass the ball at all, just run the ball, every day, every down. The Bills decided to do the opposite and throw in a couple of passes, and of course the passes were the wind, blew them down and stuff like that. So, and they had a couple of kicks and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do to combat some of the weather that's going to happen Saturday. So anyway, we'll talk about the other games later. Peace.